Sabecico, what, Fins up today! Fins up today! Oh, Fins up, baby! Miami, stand up! This is Fins Talk today! Let's go! Sun up over there, game day on the brain, from the tailgate smoke to the hard count rain. Orange aqua on my back, crowd shaking every seat. We talking ball, talking heat, turn it up, feel that beat. Fins talk today, Fins talk today. Fins up all day from the 305, we ride that way. Bobby Fins talk, Fins Sammy on the way. Miami, vamos, it's Fins talk today. Hey, 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 it's Fins talk today. Who you reppin'? Who you riding? Miami, who you riding? Dolphins, we break it down, break it live, every snap, every drive. Hey, Fins talk today. Fins up all day from the 305, we ride that wave. Fins talk, Fins Sammy on the way. Miami, vamos, vamos, it's Fins talk today. Hey, 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 Fins talk today.
Well. Welcome to, I guess you could call it, the season premiere of Fins Talk today here on
Absolutely.
FTSN. Fins Talk today powered by FTSN and Fins TV, sponsored by Caneswear, my new tag team partner in crime here on Fins Talk today. Fins Sammy, my brother. How are you, sir?
They're doing great. Fins Talk today, baby. Let's roll. You know, it's Fins Talk today at night, but it's the whole day. It's what happened today.
It's a
with the Dolphins. So,
today.
you know,
Like he's done that twice. Text message and then Fins Talk today at night. He's a damn troll. It's today. We're still today. So
Yes,
and actually,
it's
Fins
what
Talk
happened today.
started at night. When I first started Fins Talk today, it was at night. So that's the great thing about today. You could go anytime during the day.
absolutely.
I guess
Yes.
in Canada
That's
they
what's
do
fun.
it differently. But anyway,
It's at night every time in Canada right now. So
that's right. But let's welcome everyone who's joining in already. Everybody's popping in here. Appreciate everybody tuning in, watching Fins Talk today here on FTSN and Fins TV. Dolphins thirsty. Rob, good to see you. Miami Sports. He says he wants Shula, Salah, or Halfley. Daniel Meehan, not really as we speak. Dolphins have 20 candidates. It seems every day new candidates are added. Raphael, what's up, my man? DSG, Finstanza, trolling as always. Cap, Ralph Love 37. Trade for the Packers coach. All right. Well, man, Sammy, what a week. Just in regards to
Yes.
the NFL, I mean, my goodness, you never know who's going to get fired, who's going to resign, who's going to step down, who Miami's going to interview. They keep adding names onto their list for the new head coach. We got a new general manager finally who got right to work. Marvin Allen is out the door. So before we get into head coaches and what's going down with the Miami Dolphins, it's very early, but how are you feeling right now with Sullivan now that they got rid of Marvin Allen and the way this head coach search process has started out for Miami? What's your vibe?
absolutely. We talked so much about, the Dolphins did the hard part during the season. When they fired Chris Weaver mid-season, that was a step no one expected. But they started, and then Eva, who's the chat, said, they had to do it all the way. They had to fire the coach. They had to fire McDaniel. They fired the scouts during the season before firing McDaniel, but they take it the hat all the way to the studs. They basically did a cool clean house, and this is the first time they do that. I don't remember since when, because I don't think Jimmy Johnson even did it. When Jimmy Johnson took over from Don Shula, he got up the offensive coordinator for Shula. He got a lot of people who work for Don Shula. So I think this is the first time, probably, I don't know, since Don Shula took over the franchise, that they're basically taking everything to the studs. So it's a clean house. It's a huge cleanse of the Dolphin franchise.
Absolutely.
Because the Dolphins keep doing patchwork after patchwork, So I think it's great that the Dolphins are finally doing this. I'm very, very happy. And, we have to wait and see. Now they have to find the right coach. I think they hit on a run with the GM, someone who comes from the Packers, well respected with, with over 20 years of experience in the Packers organization, who basically do the things the right way. They don't panic. So we're interested to wait and see who's going to be the next head coach of the Dolphins now.
Yeah, what you said at the very beginning and your point across, they haven't done something like this in a long time, and they have never done this. Ross has not done this since as he's been the owner, cleaning house and kind of starting fresh, and that's why really I feel a certain kind of way. In regards of this process, I know a lot of Dolphin fans because I'm seeing all over on the Twitterverse, social media, whatever. There's still some people caught in their feelings in regards of Miami letting them down so many times and how they hire and whatever. I get it. We've been there. We've done that. We've all lived through this, However, I'll tell you, I told Evan yesterday on the phone, I've actually, because of cleaning house, Greer, McDaniel, they're going to move on from Tua. They got rid of two of the heads of player personnel. Now Marvin Allen. So they've gotten rid of this. They're starting from scratch here. And they have this GM, and you have Troy Aikman, who came from the outside. Now he's a part of this coaching search. He was part of the GM search. Dan Silman, which Kat brought up, which is Ross's son-in-law, who's actually in sports and been in sports and TV. Some of these outside voices. I told Evan yesterday, honestly, I'm cool. I'm relaxed. I'm not concerned. I understand. I'm going to say I am cautiously optimistic about what this team is doing right now. I love that they're slow. They're not throwing the Brinks truck at Harbaugh. They're not trying to bang the door on Tomlin or bang the door. They check in. They're not trying to bang the door on John Gruden. They are taking their time. They're casting a wide net. They're interviewing guys, and that to me is cool. So I feel really good with the way this process has played out for the Miami Dolphins. And I'm feeling confident that, we got to, we're not saying it's going to be some fast-paced turnaround. Nobody believes that. Nobody should. But very early from the start, I feel like they're going the right way here. And it's still early. We got to see how it plays out. I love that right away. He's interviewing Halfley, but a lot of people right away. Oh, we hired Jon-Eric. There it is. It's anybody Green Bay. They're going anybody Green Bay. No, they're going all over the league, and I think that's where it plays in where where Troy Aikman might come in. It's like, hey, I know this guy, but don't forget Clint Kubiak over here in Seattle. Don't forget Joe Brady or this guy. They're casting a wide net and they're getting face to face with these guys or virtual. And I actually like it. I think it's, and again, I prefer a veteran coach. We're going to get into that, an experienced coach, quote unquote. But the way they've been playing this out, I'm cool with the way they've been playing this out. Cat for Life says son-in-law Dan Silman was point man in the search for GM via source and has studied the innards of the team in recent years from finance and personnel. Stephen Ross did an interview. I think it was Bloomberg. I might be wrong.
Yes.
Bloomberg. Thank you. It's Bloomberg, and which was very revealing. And he admitted that he's been offered close to $15 billion for the Miami Dolphins, and he's turned that down. He wants the Dolphins to stay in his family. He wants to hand it off to his daughter. And then he said he specifically mentioned, which we've talked about on FTSN here, Dan Silman, the son-in-law, may run the team. And that's where Ross is going. I mean, what do you think of that? First off, we all have our opinions on Ross. And I said it before, I'm not going to waste my breath on, I want to get rid of Stephen Ross. He's the owner. Unless he sells a team, he's going to be it. I'm not going to waste my breath on it. I could criticize him, but I'm not going to waste my breath about dumping him because he can't. But it says today, he's turned down $15 billion. So truth be told, Dolphin fans, you're stuck with him. So say you hear that, what's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on Stephen Ross. There are a lot of things I like and a lot of things I don't like. The mistakes, they're well known. The meddling, the Sparano thing, the Tom Brady, the boat, the tampering, losing those picks. It's been a blunder. I think he has. He tries to do it in good faith. I think he's trying to find a way to get ahead, but the mistakes have been just horrible. But when you see someone who basically committed, who refurbished his franchise, the stadium, the facilities. He bought the grass company when there was a waiting list. That's famous for that. There was a famous waiting list for the Dolphins to get the grass on Hard Rock Stadium. And he said, I just buy the grass company. That way I have grass every time I want. So he's committed. And the checkbook, when he opened the checkbook, I'm sure people in Cincinnati will love Paul Brown to do that, to open like that, the checkbook like that, and spend every single time. The decisions are bad, but hopefully that now that the son-in-law is there, who basically is a new voice in Stephen Ross' ear, and the daughters probably, it maybe a change of pace. Hopefully those mistakes are not excused right now. But if you go by right now, by the process that they're going right now, completely different every single time. They've been patient. We're going to talk probably throw himself at the feet. John Harbaugh said, please come to Miami, please. And that didn't happen this time. They've been patient. So you can see their changes with the Dolphins by Stephen Ross right now. So I'm encouraged. It's never perfect. We have to wait and see. But as of right now, I'm encouraged for what I see from Stephen Ross.
I agree. And again, yes, a lot of the decisions he has made over the years as the owner of the Miami Dolphins have not been popular, but you can't say that he doesn't put his money where his mouth is. I mean, what he's done with the stadium, like you said, what he's done with the grass, what he's done, bonuses and stuff like that for the team. I mean, this guy wants this team to win, and he proved it this season when he didn't do the status quo. He got rid of, he said, I love Mike McDaniel, but he fired Mike McDaniel. So he knows what he has to do, some drastic things to make this team win. And he did that. Again, hiring outside of his circle. He didn't get all the yes men. He went and got Troy Aikman, out of broadcasting in Dallas, and got him for his outside point of view, his son-in-law. And then you see, brings in Jon-Eric Sullivan and gets rid of all these guys in the office, gets rid of Marvin Allen. It's a different vibe in Miami. So all you can do is like, okay, wait, I see it. Obviously, we got to wait to believe it. So, and that's why I know a lot of people are like, why aren't we doing more for John Harbaugh? We know what he wants. The report is he just left the Giants. He was there all day, finally had an in-person interview. Of course, he's interviewing them. It's not the other way around. Let's be real. So then he's an interview with the Titans here in Tennessee, because I'm in Tennessee for those who don't know. He's in an interview with the Titans. McDaniel's here today, Mike McDaniel, for their job. And then he'll interview with the Falcons. Miami, they keep throwing Miami out there. And yes, obviously, it would be wise of Miami to talk with Harbaugh, gouges, and hey, are you really interested in our organization? Would you be interested? And he probably said, well, the cap situation, Tua situation. Obviously, he still likes it, but it makes sense. But like I said, I told Evan yesterday, Evan is on the same page. Evan got sick of him already. I'm spoiling it for Evan, but I said I wasn't holding my breath for John Harbaugh anyway. It would be cool, but I'm not holding my breath, So it's just very, very interesting. Evan says he misses his head coach already. Yeah, he should. Dante Moore out of Oregon going back to college. So for a lot of Dolphin fans, they were hoping and praying that maybe we'll get a quarterback, or maybe Dante Moore would be there. I had fun today. I don't like to do it too early. I like to do my own mock drafts. I don't like to use the simulators. But I said I was covering for someone on lunch, and I was doing something. I was like, I'm going to use their computer, and I put on this draft simulator, and Dante Moore was sitting there. This was before he decided to go back, and I was like, and I was like, nah, I'm going OT here. And so it was funny, but now we could kind of nail that butt in the bed. Doesn't mean Dolphins won't get a quarterback, probably just not at 11. But let's talk about some of the guys that the Dolphins have spoken to, and who they haven't yet. And let's go ahead and pull that up there, because Cap is throwing the comments in there. We appreciate Cap for doing that. What's up, Justin? Justin Vanderbug in the house. Appreciate you, brother. Fins up. So let's go ahead and get into it here. These are just some of the names. Some new names were added today, but some of the coaching candidates that Miami is interested in. Obviously John Harbaugh is one, but he has not interviewed with Miami yet. I think they've had a call, but that's about it. Stefanski did have an in-person interview. Halfley did have an in-person interview. Kubiak had a virtual interview. I think we've had 3 in-person interviews. Who's the third one? Who am I missing here?
Stefanski, Halfley, right?
Halfley. There was one more.
The three.
Well, I know Kubiak was a virtual. Maybe they've had 3 interviews.
Kubiak was
Virtual.
Yes. And no, I think that's it.
Frankie.
Stefanski
Dolphins should hire Roman Reigns. Jesse Minter, it will be interviewed. Patrick Graham, Shepard, Shula, Sala, Caponelli. He's a new name added, and then Joe Brady as well was added today for a request to interview. So Miami, again, casting a wide net, closing in. Eventually, next week should be a good week where we might start seeing some names drop off, and maybe Miami starts closing in on a couple candidates, and we may get a name out of here. But Sammy, obviously, we had favorites going in, or guys that were like, man, I really like this. Again, I do not prefer a rookie coach again because we've been there, we've done that. However, the way Miami has done this with Sully, casting his wide net, the way they've been, cleaning out the front office and everything, I'm starting to say, like, you know what, maybe I'll be more okay with it. If they did that, I still prefer a veteran coach. I would still like to see, obviously Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year. I mean, obviously we saw what he did in Cleveland, but still can't ignore that resume. Tomlin, he's going to take a year off. There's no point there. Miami did call him. Miami checked. He said, wants to take a year off, which is cool. You do that. But I've been okay with this list. I still would like to see a couple names. Maybe a McCarthy just because of the relationship or what the experience that he's had with Jon-Eric Sullivan in Green Bay, what he's done in Dallas, and the success he's had in both places. I'd like to see his name brought up or at least interviewed. What do you think of this list so far, man? Are you satisfied? Or is there somebody missing? Or is there a head scratcher for you?
Before I forget, you're going McCarthy. The fact that Jon-Eric Sullivan tells you something, because they basically start with the experienced head coaches, So the fact that, he still has not had an interview. I don't think they had called him to an interview when actually Sullivan basically knows him very well. I don't know. McCarthy has a reputation for building bridges. He built a lot of bridges when he left the Packers. He turned with the Dallas Cowboys. That's a franchise in turmoil like we are, but that relationship ended abruptly. So that tells you a lot. I like the list. I think that compared to the last time 4 years ago, when a lot of coordinators that basically were kind of no names and that some Brian Dable went to the Giants, he failed. Mike Daniel never had an interview for a head coach job. He came to Miami as a head coach, and Kellen Moore, who's right now the head coach of the Saints, were 3 finalists. Basically, all 3 guys had no experience. I think this is a more balanced list for the Dolphins this time around. So I kind of like it. I would you would prefer a head coach with more experience. Harbaugh was my first choice. Before during the season early, we were talking about Tomlin and Harbaugh. Harbaugh apparently had no interest in the Dolphins job. Like I said, they're taking this thing to the studs. They're building the foundation. It's probably going to take time. If you think that it's going to be like the other times where it's going to be a quick rebuild, I don't think this is the case this time. I think they're going to take it slow, and I think they're going to be they're basically building the foundation for it's not a 3-story building they're building with the Dolphins. They're trying to build a foundation that is that a 10-story building or higher. So it's going to take a while. So Harbaugh's out. Tomlin, Armando said yesterday that inequivocally that Tomlin had no interest in the Dolphins. I would not be surprised, because the first person who gave Brian Flores an opportunity was Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. So he basically knows what happened here, and he probably was no part of the Dolphins.
Great point.
That would make a lot of sense for Tomlin to be out. That was very quick when he said he had no interest in the Dolphins. I'm like, the Brian Flores connection would make a lot of sense. So those 2 out, McCarthy out, those 3 are out as experienced head coaches. Who's left? For me, Kevin Stefanski right now tops the list, because he's a guy who's big in Cleveland, 2-time coach of the year, 2 11-win seasons in 7 years. Cleveland's not easy. It's a franchise like Miami who's had gone through a lot of stuff. So not right now, he's top on my list. Matt LaFleur, the fact that they keep negotiating and no news comes out, the more time it goes out, the better, because that thing that could come out as the Packers tried to resign him, but could not agree to terms, and they trade him. Maybe a third and a fifth will be enough for Matt LaFleur. I will be favored because I think Matt LaFleur is underappreciated with the Packers, and Sullivan probably knows him very well. So my two, I want experienced head coaches. Hafley, I saw an interview with him. I do some research, saw interviews. I kind of like the way he presents himself. Former head coach of Boston College, so I think he has experience as a head coach. I'm not very confident in him, but I kind of like the fact that he has experience as a head coach. Those will be my three favorites. Other than that, Robert Saleh, if he wasn't the Jets, he probably be higher in a lot of people's list because the way he conducted himself in with the Jets wasn't bad. It's not like he was horrible. He has his moment, but the quarterback situation right now and Aaron Rodgers only lasted 3 series. Who would have happened if Aaron Rodgers would have lasted longer than that? So who knows? So it's complicated. Robert Saleh as a head coach, he did a great job with the 49ers, so I would not discard him. So on the other guys, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinators, I'm not big into any of them. I will be interested in Anthony Campanelli. He was with the Dolphins. He's an alpha male. He reminds me of Dan Campbell, that kind of guy that if he did a great job with the Jaguars this season with the defense. That guy who's an alpha male could be the type of CEO head coach, who could oversee probably things and will be a great coach for the Dolphins. Other than that, Shula, the legal assisting, that will be. I know he's a Shula, will be a fairy tale story, but coming to Miami with that name, so will bring so many expectations that I don't think he will survive that. No one will survive that. He's coming to Miami for that, so hopefully he had better passing from him. Stefanski, my favorite. LaFleur is there. Saleh would not discard even who come with the Jets, so we'll have to wait and see.
So first off, shout out to Frankie. He says, I could tell you this, Jon-Eric Sullivan has done already a better job than what Mike McDaniel did when he hired McDaniels, just on who they are targeting. I think that's fair. Again, you got some offense, you got some veteran coaches, you got a lot of defense in there. So they're really casting that wide net to see who, and they're getting face to face with everybody. And they're going to come out of this saying, hey, I wouldn't sleep on Saleh. I think a lot of people are because of the Jets and say, well, what he did in San Francisco. He's a leader of men. I'll tell you what, though, obviously Campanelli, one of those guys. I mean, what's famous is that Hard Knocks clip, of him not going off, but really, running, getting his team hyped up, and you got Tyreek Hill having a great time and everybody having a good time. You like that. That's that's somebody who could sets the tone. Be honest with you, another guy who has ties with the Dolphins is Shepard, who's getting an interview. He's the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. That's another guy that if you watch him and you listen to him, his press conferences, you listen to him interacting with players, you're like, damn, that's a leader of men right there. I don't know if he's actually being considered for the job. Obviously, he's getting an interview, which is great. But this is a guy I think that eventually will be a head coach, and I think a very successful coach just based off those things alone. He's very well loved with the Detroit Lions, and I love that. When I forgot what the question was, something about a player making a mistake, and it was a press conference, and this is in front of reporters, and he says something with the sense of, I don't have it in front of me, but like, if you're not ready, you're not going to play. If you don't stick your thing, if you screw this up, you're not going to play. I'm not going to put the words. And there was another one where he was going off on the veterans, allowing the rookie Rodriguez, who was a linebacker there in Detroit, because he was out playing them in the preseason. He says, I will start this guy. I don't want to. You guys need to get to start, but you guys are going to lose this job. You guys should be fighting for it. And I was like, damn, I love this. This is what I want to see in a coach. So I would not sleep on Shepard. When you come to, in regards of Shula and Kubiak, I'll tell you what, when it comes to the rookie coaches, I know everybody's really hyped on Minter. I'm still a little kind of, hesitant, in regards of that. He does have good experience though. He's been around, he's been in the NFL, he's coached in the NFL, he coached in college. I think he coached a game or a couple games in Michigan as the head coach when Harbaugh, I think, got suspended. But Kubiak and Shula are interesting. They're intriguing to me. They're rookie coach. They would be rookie head coaches. And I know Shula is awesome for some fans and very scary for the reasons you said to others. It is a blessing and a curse. But I'll tell you why I'm intrigued by those two guys. Has nothing to do. It does in a way. It doesn't. Has nothing to do because it's a Shula. We should bring because he's Shula. It would be awesome. you should never hire somebody based off their name. If you're going to do that, put them in the office, give them an advisory role like Dan Marino. It's because of obviously, yes, what he's done. He's ran good defenses. You know, he's brought players who young guys and got them. You know, they've excelled in his defense, but also it is the last name like Kubiak. These are guys that grew up in football. It's not just Don Shula. It's Chris Shula. It's Mike Shula, his dad, his uncle. This guy here has grown up in football. He knows what it is to succeed, obviously from his grandfather, how to fail and what they do to play, like his father and his uncle. That's something that intrigues me. This guy has been around some of the greats. He's been around football his whole life. Same thing with Clint Kubiak. You know, Gary Kubiak, his father. This guy's grown up in the league. He knows what it's like to deal with players. He knows what it's like to speak to them. He's seen the failures. He's seen the greatness. You know, his dad went through a lot throughout his career. Denver and Houston.
Super Bowl champion.
100%. So that's where, and again, these guys have earned their right. They're not there because of their name. They may have gotten some leeway to get in, but they're not where they are right now because of their name. They are where they are because they put the work in. So those are guys that, even though they would be rookie coaches, I wouldn't be bunch of idiots. I just saw you guys, like, you know, that's why it's Bobby Fitz talking, not Bobby Melendez. Be safe. No, but I'm just playing. Anyway, no, stop it. We don't do that here. Anyway, it's not East Country boys. Maybe live tomorrow. This is Fitz Talk today. So those are two guys that I understand they're rookies. They would be, you know, a rookie head coach, but those are guys that I wouldn't put it past, you know, and I wouldn't raise my nose up. I'd be intrigued because of what they've done in this league, but also where they come from in this league. And you know what, if you do get a Shula coach, you know, if I'm forgetting his name right now, I can't believe I'm forgetting the guy's name. But if you get Shula as a head coach, you might see Jason Taylor as a part of this coaching staff. Just saying. I don't know why it just came to me. I was like, man, I'm very intrigued because Jason Taylor needs to make a way to the NFL. What he's doing in college football with the Miami Hurricanes, he's done a great job. He's going to have a job in this league in a short while. But anyway, what you know, you mentioned Shula. Is there a name on there that you saw when it popped up that you kind of like, you scratched your head? You're like, really, that guy?
Well, we talked before. I think it was with you that I think you asked the question of who would have thought that would be an out of the box a minority candidate. I said Patrick Graham because I thought he was still with the Patriots, but you know, as a minority candidate. So that kind. But you see a couple of guys that were with the Dolphins before Patrick Graham. It was here with the Dolphins, I think in 2019 or something like that, probably earlier. So that was a head scratcher. Cabanera thought it was good. Brady, I know how much Evan wanted Brady. So today I saw that, you know, they added him to the list. I said, well, there he is. But I told you before, I like downloading. I want to interview everyone from the AFCs. I want an interview for someone from the Patriots, someone from the Bills, someone from the Jets. I want to download what they're doing down there. So up there. So that would be interesting for them to do that. Shepard, I think he's young. He's motivated. You know, he did a great job with the Lions, former Dolphin. So they basically own a lot of former Dolphins. So Armando said something interesting today. He said that a couple of years ago, an owner told him that if you cast a wide net, you probably lose kind of some part of the purpose, some kind of the motive. So I want to believe that they know, they have an idea who they really want. But right now they're in the process of, you know, opening the net to find more information, to leave all the options open. I believe this coach is better than the one 4 years ago. So I'm encouraged with the finals list. So Shepard was a head scratcher just because he's young, but not because he's a bad candidate. But that was it for me and Graham.
I think that's fair. Patrick Graham, I was expecting because I know he's been getting a lot of head coaching interviews every year. I think eventually he may get one down the line, maybe. But I don't think he's there. I think you're right. I think they have an idea of where they want to go. They just want to, again, you want to see what you don't want to miss anything. If you had to say, okay, these three guys are the guys that you think, maybe not favorites, but three guys are like that you think are favorited for the job. Like you're like, hey, I think it's gonna be one of these three guys. Like, yeah, we want a veteran coach, but who are the three guys that you would say out of everyone that we're seeing? And I'll be honest, for me, like Joe Brady, that's one guy. Like, when everybody gets overhyped on one guy, I'm like kind of put off by it. I'm like, eh. But so what are the three guys that you would say like, hey, these are the three guys I feel like they're actually being considered?
I think the three that the interview has been final: Stefanski, Hafley, and Kubiak. I think that's the reason why they're the first three. I think that those are basically the first three that are in the running. I think that probably Kubiak is a recommendation from Aikman. Probably is going to get pushed. He's been considered also for the Falcons job. So if they want to make a move, they should really, they have to wait until the 19th, if I'm not mistaken, to interview him because he's with the Seahawks. But I think those three, that the three that they have already interviewed, I think they're the leading candidates for the job.
Yeah, I think you're right on. Then one name I will say, and because it keeps popping up, and I know he's a favorite around the league, and I think the name you could throw in there if you were to take one out, Hafley, obviously because of the Green Bay connection, and there are people interviewing him, so you know what I mean. So it makes a lot of sense. I think you're right. I think Stefanski's in there. I think he is being really considered. I think Kubiak is being strongly considered. Hafley is being considered because of the connection. I think when you see Kubiak and in other names, I think that is the Troy Aikman factor. Like, hey, don't forget. I think you can't sleep on Minter. I think Minter is a name to keep an eye on for Miami. Obviously, yes, the connection to Harbaugh's, but I just think because of his rise up in the league, it's just you got to be a little careful with that because we've seen it happen before and it hasn't worked out. But I would say those three guys for sure, the ones that you're bringing up, and I think I saw here Frankie was saying the same thing. God of Thunder says, I think Kubiak and Shula are going to be very good for a very long time. There you go. Again, two guys who grew up in this business in football and know the in and outs, and man, they have a plethora of guys in their corner who that when they're experiencing something they could go to and get great advice. Frankie says, now question for you guys, which one of those coaches can turn the Dolphins into contenders? I will say, for me, again, it's not really going to be on that. Okay. We saw what Stefanski did in Cleveland. We know what he's done, a two-time coach of the year, but we also seen a lot of what happened with dysfunctional ownership, dysfunctional management. Now ownership, you could talk about that in Miami, but management, we don't know yet with Sullivan. So far, we like what we've seen. We like where it comes from. Mm-hmm. So Stefanski would bring you that, veteran coach, but, you kind of have a resume to kind of be like, I don't know. Because did he do it in Cleveland? No, not really. Hafley, I'm not sure. When you have a guy that comes from Green Bay and everybody goes, oh, now we got to get a Green Bay guy. That's an issue for me. I it's like the same thing. We hire somebody from the Patriots, like get all the Patriot guys. We got, when we got Jeff Ireland, we got Tony Sperano, we got a bunch of Dallas guys when we brought in Bill Parcells. How did that work out? Not too good. So Hafley, I'm not sure. If you were telling me out of those three guys, I'd probably say Clint Kubiak. I think Kubiak, being outside of that, yet still familiar with everything and where he comes from and his lineage, plus his experience and what you've seen in Seattle with Gino, and then you've seen it with Sam Darnold and, and what they've done. I think Kubiak might be the guy if you're going to give me those three guys. That's at least, if there's those three guys alone, I would probably think Kubiak. Sammy?
The question is making contenders. I think that, like
the
I
whole
said,
team effort. First of all, it's not one guy.
No. I get it. I'm gonna say my premise. Right now, like I said, they'll be the foundation. So they had to learn how to walk and then learn how to run. So let's try to find a way to win the division first before we try to think about contendership, because that's the problem. The Dolphins, we are cutting the breeze. Oh, let's go for the Super Bowl. Then goes spending the money, and we always fail with free agents. That doesn't work. So, and that's not the Packers way. The Packers way do it slowly. They resign their free agents. They draft well, and they find a way to find the quarterback. So that I don't think that the contender word is gonna be thrown out in Miami for the next couple of years. Having said that, that's why I like Stefanski, because if you're in Cleveland, you have patience, and he was 7 years in Cleveland. I don't think he ever lost the locker room. Or was never reported that he lost the locker room. You're gonna have probably a first couple of years when you're gonna have to be patient. Gonna have to play hard. You're gonna have to be organized, and I think he proved that with the Browns because he had 2-time Coach of the Year, 11 win seasons with the Browns. That's not easy to do for the last 20 years, and he did it with the Browns. So
is it me? We have a little bit of a connection issue. I don't know if it's me or Sammy. If it's Sammy, I'll continue until Sammy pops back up. But he's right. Again, it's let me make sure here. Hold on. See if it's again for those just tuning in, watching Fins Talk today here on FTSN. And there's Sammy. Sammy has Verizon Wireless. You're freezing up there, boss. You're freezing up. It's so funny. But anyway, no, you're right. And it's true. Small steps. And that's why I'll tell people this, because I'll say, and I say this to our buddy Finstanza, because we're going to be excited. We'll see the new coaches. Patience is key. That's what I'm going to tell Dolphin fans. Next year, you might see some hiccups. You might see some whatever. Give it time. Don't rush. Oh, fire this guy. Fire that guy. Let it play out. Even with Stefanski, you got to let it play out. And you're right, though. That's a great point about Stefanski. He's already been through the worst. That if you hire him, you're like, hey, man, we're going to do this right. This is our plan. We're going to start it slow. We're going to build this right. Blah, blah, blah. And if Stefanski agrees to do it, then you're good, because then the plan in place. Same thing with any of these guys. Are they okay being patient and building a team up? And it even goes for ownership. Is ownership okay with being patient? Is ownership okay saying, like what Sullivan says, hey, man, we're not going after this big splash. We're not going to go after this easy trade because we got to follow the formula. We're going to build this thing up. That's going to be very – so it is a great question about which coach. But again, it's not just the coach. It's management. It's not just the management. It's ownership. It's a whole factor that comes into play. And again, go ahead, Sammy.
I'm sorry. I think it's been debated how much influence of Troy Aikman has on the room. But you think about it, let's look at Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman comes from the Cowboys. The Cowboys, when he was there, they were horrible. He took a beating every single game. They won of 15, if I'm not mistaken, his first season. They even drafted another quarterback while he was there as a quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And they were patient. They found a way to survive that. Jimmy Johnson was a young coach at the time, but they kept grinding, and they found a way to win 3 Super Bowls after that huge rebuild. So probably someone that will go to Stephen Ross and say, listen, you can throw a lot of money into it. It's not going to fix it. You have to do it right. You have to do it from the bottom up. You have to build this right. Because basically the Dolphins are doing what Troy Aikman had to go to endure. Probably this is not gonna be a pretty nice 2026 season. And you look at the opponents of the 2026 season, it's gonna be rough. That one of 15 we become, maybe, you don't know, because that schedule is loaded. The NFC North, the Packers, the Lions, the Bears, the Vikings are always good. A lot of divisional matchups. The Chiefs are playing. The Chargers, the Bengals are going to be better this year. So, and they don't talk, the Patriots are back probably, and the Bills are going to be always good. So, it's going to be a rough 2026 season. So, they're going to have to be patient, and probably try to get someone to tell Steven Ross, listen, let's do it right. Let's bring for the Brown up. Let's do it slowly. You have to find a quarterback, because if you don't have the quarterback, you don't have anything. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think Troy Aikman had a lot to do with the way they're doing this time around. They're not going after Harbaugh. They're not going. They probably called Tomlin, but he want any part of the Dolphins. But they're probably going to have to endure a lot. So, like you said, the coach had to be someone who can survive the first couple of seasons and find a way to fight the third season to have a chance to maybe go into the playoffs.
That's right. Right there. So, Frankie, my concern with Stefanski is he worked with Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, and even Shedeur Sanders. He never had a quarterback believe in him.
I don't know about that. I love it. I love Frankie, but I don't know how much. Let's go by 1-1. Deshaun Watson it's a problem everywhere. That's the reason why they traded to the Browns. Shedeur Sanders, that's the reason why he was supposed to be the first overall pick and fall to the, I don't know, 5th round, 6th round. Dylan Gabriel, I don't know. You're the draft guy, Bobby. You told me if he was rated higher and he dropped to the Browns, because I don't think that's what happened. So Baker Mayfield, a lot of hype. He went to the Panthers, he did nothing. He went to the Rams, he did nothing. He reinvented himself in Tampa. He's being a great quarterback, but it's not like he came out of the Browns. He became an instant star. So I don't think what happened. So I understand what Frankie's trying to say, but I'm not going to blame that on Stefanski for sure.
Yeah, and remember, Deshaun Watson, I think, was forced on by ownership, and he was already having issues in Houston, and obviously everything that played out.
Horrible contract, by the way.
And again, both guys were rookies. I was not very high on Shedeur Sanders coming out. I would love to see him succeed. Dylan Gabriel, I was higher on. I like Dylan Gabriel. We'll see how that plays out. Cap for Life says, per Jordan Schultz, Giants and Harbaugh had a very productive meeting. Both sides will maintain contact, but no deal for Giants for now. Yes, because he said he's going to meet with the Titans and the Atlanta Falcons. Man of his word. We'll see how that plays out. So far, those are the 3 guys, the 3 teams in the lead for John Harbaugh. I saw something today. Miami's name was still in it. I'm not holding my breath on Miami at all. We're moving forward. Callis says LaFleur 1, Kubiak 2, Stefanski 3, Shula 4. Very cool. Good list. Yes, if LaFleur is available, obviously that's what you're, just because, again, connection with Jon-Eric Sullivan, but also what he's done and what he is, who he is. That you think about, and Aaron Rodgers even said it. And yes, I said Aaron Rodgers for DSG. But even Aaron Rodgers said that Tomlin, fans were hating on Tomlin and fans are hating on LaFleur, 2 guys of what they've done in this league, and people are hating on him. If LaFleur is available, go get him. If you could get him and it's not going to deplete you or kill you. But we'll see how it plays out. I see a common theme though with Kubiak. I see a lot of people saying Kubiak on their top 3 to 4 list. It's Stefanski being in there as well. But something you've brought up, and it's not the first time. First off, shout out to everybody who's watching right now. Never heard of him. Shut up. Finn's Talk today here on FTSN, powered by FTSN and Finn's TV. Appreciate everybody who's watching, whether you're watching on X, on FTSN, or my Twitter, or Finn's TV, or on the YouTube channels. We appreciate you all. If you're anywhere other than YouTube, hop on over, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Then go on to Finn's TV, hit that subscribe button. They were on for a special episode yesterday. I saw them. I was like, wait a second. I thought they were done. Nope, not so fast. They were live. And it was a good one. I thought Shari did great. I thought it was like a live report because I don't know what it was. It was like a picture and she was talking. I was like, you got an actual reporter? No, it was Sherry. I was like, that was awesome. Lou in the house. Lou from Dade. Great to see him. I think you should do that more often, by the way. I loved it. I thought that was really cool. Whatever she was reading and doing, I thought that was like, damn, that's professional as hell. So shout out to her and Steve, of course. Frankie says, if you were hired as the Dolphins head coach, what would be your first big move? Sammy? Great question by Frankie.
Oh man. If I was hired head coach, what would be my first move? I would like to see the scouting reports of what they have on the quarterbacks, because again, if you don't have the quarterback, you have nothing. So I had to wait and see what they have. I had to go to my general manager and say, what's the plan for quarterback in 2020, in 2026? Because we all know Tua's probably not going to be here. Hopefully, it's not going to be here because they had to find a way to move that contract. I don't know how they're going to do it. I always have my reservation about that, but they have to find a way now. There's no turning back. There's no way to put the pace back in the tube. They had to find a way to move Tua. So the quarterback situation is a very interesting one. You cannot spell you without you. So hopefully you is not as bad as that last game for the Patriots, because again 1-16 season, here we come. But the quarterback situation, if I'm the head coach and I'm a candidate for head coach, I have to go to the general manager and to the owner and say, okay, what's the plan? Are we gonna suck in 2026 to find out that quarterback for the future or not? So that's the key for me.
That's what I would do right there. That last part right there. The first thing I'm doing is I'm going to sit with the general manager and I'm going to say, okay, what's your plan? How are we going to build this out? What's your goal? Okay. Now let's look at the guys and let's see who's going to fit our system, fit my system, and let's go from there. That's the most important thing. Obviously, you got to figure out what you're going to do at the quarterback position. Quinn Ewers, again, mixed bag, mid, which is fair. Again, 7th round rookie, can't give him too much shit. Sorry, stuff, whatever, flack. We'll see what he does in the preseason next year. But you got to look at quarterback. A lot of people talk about quarterback with the first pick. Are you really going to do Ty Simpson? Dante Moore win? Do you going to do that with the first pick? That's a question that's going to be asked for until the draft. We'll see how it plays out. Does Ty Simpson move up now by demand? Do the Jets reach for Ty Simpson at 2 if he has a decent offseason draft process? We'll see. But I will say, and I love that Collis just said that, because I'll say this. I'm looking forward to what they're going to do, because I'm ready for this. This is the first time that we're going to have a new GM, a new coach on the same page with ownership, obviously. The way everything's working out, that I think this process might be done right. We don't know how it's going to play out, right? We don't know how Sullivan's going to do this. We don't know who the new head coach is going to be and how they're going to play into this. What we do know is that Sully came from the Green Bay Packers. So if you want to get a hint at what Miami may do, not going to say it might be an exact replica of what Sully will do, Sully being our general manager, it's a good kind of blueprint to kind of go, maybe this is how they'll play this out. So I thought it might be good, Sammy, to go back and take a look and kind of see, based off the 20 years he was there with Green Bay, how he might run the Miami Dolphins, how he might attack the draft and free agency. So let's go ahead and pull this up. And let's look at Sullivan's draft and free agent philosophy based off the history with the Green Bay Packers. So in regards to the draft, the one thing that's very important is premium positions first. The Packers strongly prioritize high-value positions, especially early on in the draft. Offensive line, edge rusher, corner, quarterback, even if they already have one, which obviously we know, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. When you had Brett Favre for Aaron Rodgers, you had Aaron Rodgers, you had Jordan Love. And then wide receiver, which is mostly day 2, which is interesting. There'll be some good ones in day 2 this year. What they generally avoid using premium picks on: running backs, off-ball linebackers, safeties, tight end. Safeties, if there's one you can't pass, or a tight end safety you can't pass up on, they do it. It's one again, but generally the Packers have avoided this. When you look at the positions that they have prioritized, really, that's great news for Miami. Offensive line. The right side of the offensive line, James Daniels, we don't know what's going to happen with him. Can't stay healthy. Does Miami just drop it and move on? Do they move Jonas Savaiinaea over to the right side, which I believe they should? I believe in this kid. Okay, he had a rough start, but they put him on a side where he shouldn't be, on the left side. They should have moved him to the right side where he's played in college, where he knows. But we'll see. Do they go right tackle in round 1? Right tackle, you have Spencer Fanu. You got oh my goodness, I'm thinking of the other guy from Utah. There's 2 of them, really good tackles out of Utah. You got Francis Mauigoa from Miami. There's some good tackles there possibly available to Miami at 11. Edge rusher. Why edge rusher? Well, Bradley Chubb probably is going to be a cap casualty. Chop Robinson struggled this year, plus injuries. Edge rusher is absolutely a need. If Bailey's sitting there, or some way, somehow, Ruben Bain is slid, which now that Dante Moore is out of the draft, he may not. But if Ruben Bain is sitting there for Miami at 11, you better damn believe they should run to that board. Corner, you got McCoy out of Tennessee. You got a couple of them there. Quarterback, I don't know if there's going to be a quarterback at 11. I don't know if Ty Simpson's that guy. He's a safe quarterback. That would be a safe pick, kind of like how Mac Jones was. Of course, Mac Jones didn't work out in New England, but he was a safer pick at that time. Ty Simpson might be a little better. I don't know. But he's safer, but I don't know if he's 11 safe. I know no Alabama, Evan would say. I can't see the comments right now, but Evan might say no Alabama. I get it, but I'm not going to do that to nobody. A name that intrigues me, I don't know about 11, but a name that intrigues me, maybe even at 11, because is Trinidad Chambliss. I'm probably butchering his last name out of Ole Miss. That kid is intriguing. I wonder if he does not get another year in college, he's trying to fight for that, and he goes into the pros. How does he do in the scouting combine? How does he do it in Indianapolis? How does those pro days look? Because he might end up jumping. Because let me tell you something. That kid is really freaking good. He's raw. I got some raw stuff, but he's still a very good player. And a wide receiver. Tyreek Hill, mostly gone. More than likely. Maybe, but more than likely. Jalen Waddle. Can you see him? Sammy, can you see him anywhere? I can't see him. We don't know what we have in Jalen Waddle anymore. So wide receivers absolutely a need for the Miami Dolphins. A name that jumped, there's a few of them, right? I think our friend Justin from Pro Football, he had Miami taking Jordan Tyson with the 11th pick. But if you're looking at round 2, Chris Bell out of Louisville, he might be there for Miami at round 2. So very interesting. But premium philosophies, premium positions first. Sammy, what do you think of this right here? What does this say to you? I mean, I was working on this, but you brought this up a week ago, and I was like, holy crap, it's like syncrecy, man. Before I even start this, it's already syncrecy. So you see this. What's your thought process on it, brother?
I think that basically the money says a lot because you're building a team. S rusher is one of the highest paid positions in the NFL. Even with they're not a good one. Basically, the S rushers get paid pretty well. So when trying to build a team, basically the economics, you have to be on par with it. Offensive line, of course, there's no one team right now in the NFL that can say they had a lot of depth in the offensive line. So the offensive line, the last couple of seasons, last 3 or 4 seasons in the NFL, the quality of the defensive line has gone down. So if you have a very good offensive line, you have a very good chance to be in the playoffs. The Lions are the exception this year, but the last couple of years where they had a very strong offensive line, they did a lot of winning. So cornerback, if you look at it, basically are kind of the same things that Chris Greer tried to do. The problem was that Chris Greer did not hit because Chris Greer tried to do sometimes a good offensive line in the first round, S rushers every couple of years, cornerbacks, but you need to hit. If you don't hit, you're basically screwed. So that's the key here. Wide receivers, the Packers usually go for wide receivers in the second round. That was one of the reasons Aaron Rodgers was so mad with the Packers because he was waiting for the Packers to draft a wide receiver in the first round. As soon as he's at the door, they find a way to draft a wide receiver in the first round. So is the blueprint. This is the Packers' blueprint. They find a way to make things interchangeable. They're strong up front. They're strong in the line, and that's the kind of team the Dolphins need to build. Because when you're playing in the AFC East with 3 northern teams, and it comes to December, you need to be strong with the pass rush. We need to have to stop the run. You have to run the ball. So offensive line, defensive line are keys in December football. That's the reason why the Dolphins usually comes December time and the January time they fail because they're not strong up front. So that will make a lot of sense. That will be a winning formula for me. So they have to draft well. That's the key. You got to draft offensive line. If you miss, you're in big trouble because that's the one position you cannot miss. If you draft an offensive lineman and Leon Eichenberg, for example, you put a lot of assets in Leon Eichenberg. You even went up to get it. It was a blunder. And Joe Sabanaya this year.
I'm gonna give it a second,
or you're gonna fail.
Let's see. So it's a great point though about offensive line, and that's one thing. I think it's in the next thing here, not this one, but the next one. Kind of the players they have gone for in with the offensive line and how that's played out. And they weren't first round picks. Algin Jenkins and there's I think other ones. You had Zach Tom, but anyway, number 2, philosophy, traits over college production. Green Bay is one of the most traits-driven drafting teams in the league. They value size, length, athletic testing, explosion, and versatility. This offense leads them to draft players who didn't dominate statistically in college, played less aggressive in limited roles, and needed technical development. Kind of play the long game. Get guys that you could build upon. Guys that maybe teams overlook You know what I mean? You know those projects that teams go, oh, I want to go with this guy who had, 1,500 yards and whatever. No, let's get the kid that had 500 yards and whatever, and hey, watch him blow up. Let's see what he does. Let's see here. Long-term team building, not immediate need. They don't draft for need. Green Bay drafts with a 2 to 3 year vision, not a plug-and-play urgency. They often draft successors before starters decline. Redshirt players early in their careers, accept fan media backlash in the short term. Examples, drafting Jordan Loves with Aaron Rodgers on the roster, drafting receivers a year before losing veterans, and letting rookies sit behind veterans, which, again, when it comes to quarterback, I prefer that. I don't like the guy that, unless he kills it in the preseason, let the rookie sit, let him learn, and he comes in with an injury or later on in the season. Here we go. Offensive line factory model. Philosophy: draft smart, coach well, pay selectively. Packers consistently draft O-line on day 2 and day 3. Value versatility. Players who could play multiple spots, which I love. If you watch On the Clock and me the past couple of seasons, you know that's what I love in regards of offensive line. I know for some they hate it. I love it. Let coaching and development do the work. That's what I love to see that. And that's what's like, you got it. That's when you go for those guys who are a little raw and whatever. You got to trust your coaches, and and again, this is what the Packers have done. This is kind of their blueprint. Doesn't mean Sullivan might come in and go, man, I've always wanted to try this route. I could use this, but it might not be exactly the same, but it's good to kind of see it. So with this factory model, offensive line factory model, this is what they've done. The left tackle, David Bartharaki, I'm a butcher's name, Bartharaki, like the Lord, like Game of Thrones. It's not what it is.
Bakhtiari?
Yeah, whatever. David B, 4th round. Corey Lindsey, 5th round. Josh Sitton, 4th round. Algen Jenkins, 2nd round. So these are really good names that they got in the 2nd round and on. So very interesting to see. And good to look at, to kind of get an idea of what Miami. Defensive preference, length, and versatility. Draft smart, coach well, pay selectively. On defense, Green Bay prefers long corners who could play press or zone, linebackers with sideline-to-sideline speed, edge players who can rush and set the edge. They often avoid smaller, instinct-only defenders and one-dimensional specialists. So, Sammy, man, you see this, and honestly, looking at this, how much of this would you like Miami to implement with Jon-Eric Sullivan as their GM? When you look at this, you go, do you get excited? You're like, I would love to see this implemented in Miami. Or is there kind of like man, I hope they kind of go this route? Where's your mind when you see that? Where's your vibe?
I don't want to alarm anyone, but when you see that kind of thing, that's what's a lot of the things that Chris Greer tried to do, but he failed. The drafting players that can play multiple positions in the defensive line, he tried to do that, but he failed. But again, you had to hit, and the fact is, if you don't draft well, no matter what you do, you're gonna fail. The problem with the Packer model is, and sometimes it's a reason why they've been successful but not enough, is that you get an unbalanced roster. If you keep drafting best player available, sometimes you're gonna, their needs. You're going to go to the draft and say, okay, you're going to have an overstock on offensive linemen or an overstock on linebackers or whatever. So you need to be careful. But that's one of the reasons why the Packers, come playoff time, they're kind of weak in some areas and they're not developing enough. Aaron Rodgers criticized them. That's for you, DSG. Aaron Rodgers criticized them a lot for the lack of depth of the wide receiver for a couple of years. They like to draft wide receiver in the 2nd round. They're good but not great wide receivers. And you need to have even for Aaron Rodgers, who was a superstar quarterback, he was complaining about receivers. That says a lot. So it's good that you have that. You have that model. I agree with the model, but you have to hit. If you don't hit, you fail. And that an overload roster in some areas, that's kind of concerning because that's the problem Chris Greer had at one point. Chris Greer could not build a great roster. He had great players. At one time, he had 6 or 7 of the top 100 players in the NFL. But you had a lot of talent. But if your roster is flawed, you're not going anywhere. So that's the challenge for Eric Sullivan to do in Miami. You have to do draft well, and you have to find the balance in the Miami roster for be able to succeed.
100%. DSG, Bobby still has not got his ring. No, I have not. I don't have it yet. But when I do, you will know because I will be showing it off every show. I mean, we're just like that. I'll be like this all the time. That way everybody knows I got that ring. God of Thunder says Sullivan also looks for versatility in players, may lose in gold. Maybe. But good point. Greer did not have the patience. Let's see. Cat for Life, Don Sutter, childhood friend of Mike McDaniel, sounds off on Steven. Yes, I did. Yeah, I saw that. I think it's a shit organization. They stabbed Mike in the back after Ross told him he was going to be all right for one more year. But yeah, the only thing Sutter I think doesn't see is how Mike McDaniel was doing. I think he said you're all right for right now, but I got to look at it. I have to think about it, but it is what it is. I'll tell you what. Shout out to McDaniel though, getting a lot of interest around the league. Interviewed for a couple head coaching spots, very good offensive coordinator spots. Are you surprised at the interview request for him as head coach with the Browns and the Titans? And did that surprise you?
I'm not surprised he's getting head coaching opportunities because I was saying he was going to get head coaching opportunities where people say he's going to go. Maybe TV. I thought it would be interesting for him to go to TV because, he has a great personality for that. But the fact that there's so many open candidacies, I remember when Evan said probably going to be between 9 and 11 free vacancies in the NFL. I said, that's not going to happen. There was so much. But Evan was finding the money, a lot of openings. So, hopefully for him, he's going to be careful where he picks to go. Hopefully he turns down the Cleveland job if offered because he's going to go there. He's going to fail again. So because that, hopefully he goes to an organization he knows what they're doing. That was not Miami for sure. If I was him, I will take it easily, slowly. Go to Detroit, learn from Dan Campbell, an alpha male on how to lead, how to, do the right things. Who would have thought that the Lions would be the model for consistency? But the Lions right now are a very good organization and had a lot of weapons with Detroit. So hopefully he goes to Detroit and he has a great season with Detroit, a couple of great seasons. He has a chance to choose somewhere where he gets a good quarterback because that's not going to be Cleveland either.
DSG prick, man. Frankie, I thought Mike McDaniel was going to join the FTSN family. I thought so too. There was an outstanding offer, but he knows Evan pretty well, and he's like, I'm not going on there with that Canadian bacon. I'm not going there. So that's why we couldn't get McDaniel because of Evan. He talked too much trash.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's the story, and we're sticking with it, bro.
We're sticking to
it. But anyway, so we'll continue to wait again. The updated names in regards of coaches for Miami that's just been recently added is to the list already is Anthony Campanelli, who's the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive coordinator. He was the linebacker coach for Miami, and Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. So do you expect any other names to pop up for Miami? If so, who?
Right now, names I'm not so sure, but again, I would not be surprised if they find a way to ask for someone, just McDaniels or someone like that, when the Patriots get eliminated. Because I believe that loader, and that's the way DSG. I'm kind of surprised that surprise for myself that they have not asked Anthony Weaver, but that kind of says a lot. If they're ripping the thing to the studs, they don't want anything to do with what happened in the past, so they're probably not going to give Anthony Weaver a chance for the Dolphins to have an interview. They're being consistent. They're moving forward. They're not looking back.
They are. Well, Ackerman, the special teams coach, Greg Ackerman, he interviewed with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, hey, that's it. You let the new GM pick his coach, and now you're going to let your head coach hire his staff. So again, it's going to be a fresh start in Miami, and that's why it may not be pretty. We all expect it not to be. It'd be crazy to think it's going to be a good season next year. But one thing you can say is it's be different.
And I'm sorry, Bobby. One of the reasons they clean house, but not quite, is because Anthony Weaver is still under contract. If he goes as a head coach somewhere else, the Dolphins get 2 third-round picks from the league. So they're not going to throw everything away. They're going to be patient in that. Eventually, they might, let everybody go. But for right now, they're keeping their assets.
Yeah. It'd be very interesting to see. God of Thunder says, I think Weaver may go to Arizona. DSG said he would keep Weaver. I thought that if Harbaugh were to come to Miami, I think Weaver would have stayed on. And I think Mankin, the OC for Baltimore at the time last season, would come to Miami as well. That might be the case with Minter. Who knows? Minter is still a name to watch for the Dolphins, but it's very interesting. I think I'm satisfied with the way they've been running this. I'm intrigued. I like that they're not rushing through it. They're, another name pops up. I know a lot of people go, oh, they're entering half the league. Awesome. Get it right. Do the diligence and do it. Frank Smith gone, right? As of now, yeah. He's gone right now.
Whatever it goes, he's gonna be there. Yes. Probably.
Yeah. 100%. So we'll see. But anyway, guys, we appreciate you all joining us. Sammy, you got any final thoughts before we wrap this one up, brother?
Basically, that I'm happier this time around than 3-4 years ago with the small season search. I think they're doing the right thing again. And like I said, I think the Troy Aikman boys who was said that what do he knows? He wasn't the first choice. Jimmy Johnson was the first choice. Basically, it was Jimmy Johnson the one who said, go get Troy Aikman to do that because I'm not gonna do it. So, but I think the boys of Troy Aikman with a lot of the choices they're doing, the outside boys of Troy Aikman had a lot to do with the decisions. I'm very, very satisfied with what they're doing. It's a challenge, and again, Dolphins fans are gonna have to be patient because they're not gonna be the team that we've been the last 25 years looking for that playoff win. They're gonna do it slowly. They're gonna build it from the ground, and we're gonna go through some growing pains. So you better buckle up because it's gonna be a very bumpy ride in 2026 for the Dolphins, probably.
100%. Guys, I want to thank you, everyone who's tuned in to tonight's show. We will be back. I think our normal time would be Thursday night, 8 p.m.
Thursdays, 7 or 8, whatever you whatever's for you, Bobby.
So yeah, we did Wednesday because Sammy's working tomorrow. So, but we will be on Thursday nights. Yeah, good for you, my man. Busy, Bobby. That's pretty big guy there in the PR, man. Pretty big deal over there. Looks like Ric Flair, Puerto Rican Ric Flair on Facebook. Like this guy's styling and profiling, man. Rico Suave over there, brother. But anyway, guys, I really do thank everybody for tuning in. I will be live tomorrow, more than likely, depending on how everything's going on with Alex. Alex got some stuff going on, but we'll be talking probably East 10th Street Boys, obviously talking Dolphins, but we'll also be talking Miami Heat. Could John Morant from the Memphis Grizzlies be coming into Miami Heat? Tune in tomorrow. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, man, it's crazy. I just saw, it wouldn't take any draft capital or any of the prospects of Miami Heat if you want to get John Morant. Like, they want to give him away. So I'm really intrigued to hear what Alex has to say. Like Fantasio, I saw Terry Rozier's deal, couple not even draft picks, but just that alone could get John Morant. And I'm like, I wouldn't give anything really for John Morant unless it's that. So very, very interesting. And maybe, does Anthony Davis follow? I don't know. But we will discuss that more than likely here on East 10th Street Boys tomorrow night. That's Finn Sammy. I'm Bobby Finstock. Please do me a favor, guys. Like and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and follow Finn Sammy at Finn Sammy and at Finn's TV on X. Follow the channel Finstock. On X, you follow us at Finstock Network. Follow me at Bobby Finstock. And of course, you go subscribe to Finn's TV as well. Appreciate you all, Dolphin fans. It's a new day in Miami. Like, subscribe, and most importantly, Dolphin fans, it's up. See you guys next time.